The police told me this is the best place for me to go.
When's your birthday?
October 18th, 1980.
What, October 8th, 1980?
October 18th.
And what's your name?
Sean David Schwartz, SHAWN.
Have you ever been here before?
No, sir.
Do you have an ID on you just so
I do, sir. So,
what part of Nebraska are you from? Chapel.
yep. I was born in Scotts Bluff. Here's my social security card.
I'll have they'll grab more stuff.
Anytime I lift some paper.
Let's get you checked on all the wheels.
Yes, sir.
And so what's going on tonight?
I've been through the ringer. I'm autistic, and it's high functioning, so the benefits that are supposed to be allowed to somebody with disabilities have been denied. And also, people have been using the term mentally ill very loosely to do some very bad things to me. I've been suicidal for about 3 years. I actually attempted suicide 5 times last year due to the harassment against me. My best friend was murdered on December 29th of 2017, and I was painted in the media in Colorado as some sort of super psycho serial killer rapist type person. They didn't find the guy who killed her until February 8th of 2018, and the police in Colorado took part in harassing, threatening, intimidating me, refusing to take a police report. The public took part in assaulting me. The media just had a frenzy. And then they just dropped it off after destroying my name. I can't go to my hometown. The officers, prior to her being killed, had refused to take my report about the things that were happening, telling me things like I needed to man up or they had real police work to do. And then after she died, I went back to try to get that information from them, and they basically did everything they could to try to paint me as schizophrenic to make up for what they had done. I've got a whole bunch of evidence that is in my vehicle. I can't get anybody to look at it. The family of Natalie Bollinger has been, they're a bunch of drug dealers and druggies, people like that. I used to live in Boulder, Colorado as a homeless person and pass out blankets and escort people to where the women's centers were and things like that. That's how I met them. Natalie and Alicia Bollinger both, that's her twin sister. But her family has gone out of their way to threaten, harass, assault, and intimidate anybody who helps me. The police have gone out of their way not to take a report. The public pretenders in Colorado have gone out of their way not to look at any evidence. A lot of evidence has been stolen by officers, and basically I need a buffer to prevent these people from victimizing me further. And also with the warrants that I have in Colorado, I need to be able to defend myself against these predators, and or I need to die.
Are you having any thoughts of hurting other people, or just
Never. I never want to hurt anyone.
Have you ever been in the hospital for this before, or do you know the process?
I know that most of your process is antagonistic to my situation. I'm not thinking about, harming myself at the moment, but at the same time, I do want my life to be over at the moment, if that makes sense. There's been a lot of people who have been threatening to kill me over the last 2 years, and they won't kill me. The police won't take a report about it. A lot of it's online, and I keep getting told that no officer can take my report because it's online, and that's the fact that these people were allowed to cover up their wrongdoing because the police did wrong as well. And as a result, I don't have any way to defend myself.
Well, let's get you checked out and keep you safe here. And then,
Well, that's the thing about keeping me safe, is that for a safe environment, I need a place where I can sit down with my evidence and go through it without having to be rushed and sent from one place to another, to another, to another. And as far as being put on a 72-hour hold or 24-hour hold or any of that, that's not going to help because you take away my ability to communicate with people.
what would be like the most helpful thing aside from, letting you get, have a place to go through all that stuff? Like, what would you like? Like, do you want us to get you evaluated and everything, or do you just need a place to go through all that stuff, or what's?
Well, I need a place to go through that, but I also need to be in contact with someone who can help me as far as a disabilities advocate, and I don't know what the whole thing to do for that is. I do know that medications they don't work right. I get scared if I'm backed into a corner or locked in a room. If I'm scared of a situation, I usually walk away. If I'm not allowed to walk away, it's very intimidating for me. Basically, I need the ability to defend myself against these predators. I need a place to do it, and I really need the FBI to get involved. I don't know how to do any of that. I'm not schizophrenic. Like I said, I have all of that information out in my vehicle. I don't know what kind of help you guys can provide, but I was told that there is no disability advocacy service here in Cheyenne, and there's also no center for people with disabilities.
The best, usually the best people to talk to about that sort of stuff is social work. They're not actually here right now, but they come in the morning. In the meantime, I'd like to help you as much as I can. The biggest thing would be getting you checked in and everything. But if you're not feeling like hurting yourself tonight, but this is just sort of.
I want to die every moment of every day because of the things that have happened to me. It's not the same as I always want to die, no matter what, because I'm not allowed to see my friends and family because of the slander against me. When I go back to my hometown, because of the way I was painted on the news, I have people who threaten my life, and the police don't do anything about it. When I'm in Boulder, people threaten my life, and the police, instead of listening to me, they send me into an autistic meltdown or a severe panic attack, and then they punish me for having a panic attack. They have used an M1 hold on, that's their version of a suicide hold, basically. They've used that on at least 4 different occasions to prevent me from making a police report. Also, they use jurisdiction to prevent me from being able to make a report and show everything that's happening, whereas in my court cases that they prevented me from going to, they were able to use stuff from multiple jurisdictions. As a result, I have warrants in Colorado for speaking out against the police, but also I've been doing that for years because the way they treat the homeless.
Yeah. So we could certainly get in touch with social work and everything, but do you want to check into the hospital,
What would be the protocol for that?
So the big thing is that if you don't feel like hurting yourself right now, but you're telling me that you want to die every day, it's still something that I'd like to get you help in that respect. The process overall is still the same.
So 72 hours without my phone?
Not necessarily the 72 hours thing, but the big thing would be until the part team can see anyone medically clear you, and the part team's the psych eval team and everything. They would be the people who would be able to get you the most resources, the most help, especially with disability advocacy and that sort of stuff. And they work with social work to do that. Not having your phone and stuff like that is just a temporary thing while you're here. And but they would be the best people to advocate for you in that respect. So to get you access to that sort of stuff, we have to go through that whole thing. But I'm just here to help you. Like if you want to do all that kind of stuff, it's just.
Well, that's the thing is that the taking away of my phone, all of the places that I've been, not being able to show what's going on, my phone allows that.
Right.
My phone allows me to talk to the people who help me. The protocol that you guys have is actually antagonistic and the opposite of helpful. I mean, if I tell my story without showing what's going on, then people are going to think that I'm crazy.
Like the other thing with it too is that if like having your phone like while you've been outside of the hospital hasn't been getting you the results that you want, that's the thing that I'm worried about is that so like we have to do it this sort of way where like you have to give up your phone and everything for the time being while you're back here, just because that's the only way that we can do this sort of thing. And those aren't rules that like we make arbitrarily. This is just like what's been shown to be like the most effective with evaluating people.
Well, that's the thing is that with my situation, your protocols are antagonistic to it and prevent me from getting the help that I need. Because if I can't show what's going on, then people are going to think that I'm crazy. So I'm going to get on YouTube and I'll show you part of what I'm dealing with.
Here, I can give you this stuff back too.
Thank you, sir. Alright, now this is after they caught the guy. Her entire family have been after me. That's part of the thing that makes it sound paranoid. Also, I was...
So jarring details tonight about the murder mystery of 19-year-old Natalie Bollinger. According to the arrest report obtained by Denver 7, the suspect claims Natalie had a role in her own death. Denver 7's Jacqueline Allen spent a good part of today poring over that report. Jacqueline.
Jenna, we now know this man, Joseph Lopez, is charged with first-degree murder, accused of shooting Natalie Bollinger in the head. But tonight, the arrest affidavit details the suspect's bizarre story, claiming Natalie hired him to kill her. What happened to Natalie Bollinger has been a mystery since her body was found in Adams County December 29th. But this arrest affidavit gives new information about how police tracked down Joseph Lopez, who texted back and forth with Natalie 111 times, and she disappeared.
As you can imagine, need to know social media or phone. There's a lot of data.
The affidavit states Lopez says he contacted Natalie after seeing a Craigslist ad titled something to the effect of, "I want to put a hit on myself." It states he used a fake hitman persona and agreed to meet her and kill her with her own gun, execution style. While some of Natalie's friends and family had told investigators she had a history of suicidal thoughts, others said she was happy and looking forward to attending school. The sheriff says it's too soon to know what really drove the crime. An autopsy shows Natalie also had a history of heroin and methamphetamine use, and revealed she died from a gunshot wound to the head, but with a potentially lethal level of heroin in her blood.
It's very, very difficult in these cases, even if there's a stated motive, to really determine long term what that motive truly is.
In court, it may not matter whether Natalie asked for a hit or not.
Even if she asked for assistance, if he's the one who pulled the trigger, it's still murder.
The sheriff named Lopez as the sole suspect. It says the man previously named a person of interest, Sean Schwartz, wasn't involved. Since the arrest, he's been posting on Facebook Live about his innocence.
You helped me. Thank you so much. All right.
I spoke to Natalie's family about this story tonight. Her father tells me it's the first time they've heard these details. They're not ready to comment until the case moves a bit further along the legal process. Reporting live, Jacqueline Allen, Denver 7.
That's not all. Before they caught her killer, her family, there's hundreds of things in here about the case. Her dad raped her, molested her, had her selling drugs. I was living in Colorado as a homeless person, handing out blankets, walking people to the Mormon centers, like I said. And a lot of the people that I dealt with were drug addicts, heroin addicts, methamphetamine addicts, things like that. It really hit big in 2003. We had the Juggalos came in and they brought in a lot of that stuff with them. And I had hurt my back in 2013. I lost pretty much everything that I owned. A lot of my friends, they don't understand panic attacks, they don't understand autism, and I've been trying to educate people, but it got to the point where basically all of my resources, my disability that I get that I was getting was taken away from me. Public defenders, they have overwhelming caseloads, so they can't do their job. So basically what they do is they try to send me into a panic attack so that they can get me to sign pieces of paper that make it okay for the police to do whatever they do. And they kept on shipping me from one place to another using the M1 hold to prevent me from being able to defend myself, prevent me from being able to talk to my friends, sending me into a worse panic attack. And it gets worse and worse and worse. And people run away. They don't understand it. They don't try to understand it. And like I've been screamed at and yelled at in nearly every environment that I've been in is violent or loud, scary. Her family has taken part in threatening, harassing, and intimidating me. They've threatened to kill me. I've got over 100 threats that the police won't take a look at. They keep coming up with any excuse not to, hence the M1 holds. A lot of the people who offered to help me, they're alcoholics or they're crazy web sleuths who are pretending to be friends of mine or pretending that they were going to help, and ultimately they didn't. I have severe panic attacks over texting, so I need people to communicate with me and talking, but with the way that I was painted in the media, all of these crazy wingnuts to think that I'm some sort of... What had originally happened is she saved my life. I was gonna kill myself in 2016. I had some Vicodin that I was gonna take. The border police just wouldn't stop harassing me. I was averaging an hour of sleep a night. My back is still injured, so I need to get some sort of help for that too. So I might need to check in for that. But I've been denied access to my medical records because I haven't had any money. It's all gone to going to the courts from one court date to another. They kept, every time that I tried to make a report, they put me on an M1 hold, shipped me out of county, things of that nature. That's what makes me suicidal. That's what makes me want my life to end, is your protocols. They utilized the protocols in order to prevent me from getting the resources needed to get help. I had it set up so that I had my own mental health care, and they went out of their way, because officers had assaulted me, they went out of their way to paint me as some sort of terrible person. I've been trying to get help getting a protection order against these hundreds of people who are threatening my life. They ultimately just dragged out all of my court cases until there was nobody there. People can't afford to keep going to court case after court case, and they actually locked me up and took away my disability because I had to do something drastic to try to force an outside agency to look at how much was going on. So I threatened to kill the President of the United States, and I have paperwork on that too, sort of. The problem is that I need a lawyer. I need a legal advocate for people with disabilities, and they've been denying me access to that.
Are you living up here now, or are you passing through? Or...
I live in my Jeep outside.
So, this whole everything you're going through sounds horrible and mostly frustrating, and I understand that. I think that social work would be the best ones to get you in touch with, more resources as far as like the legal status that you're in right now, and just all the threats and everything. I'd be happy to like talk with the police for you or have them come down and try to take a report from you. But in the short term, if you want to check in for your back too, we can do that. Social work's unfortunately not here until like 7 in the morning, so we got some time. But in the meantime, if you want to check in for your back, then kind of see what else we can do in the morning. We could do that certainly. But...
That sounds good to me.
Okay, sounds good. Why don't we do? Yeah, we'll do that, and then let's see. Because I think they'd be the best ones to talk to you about that, because they're really good with community and legal resources as far as that goes too. So.
Yes, sir. A lot of the situation that I've had is that I needed somebody there present with me. anytime that I talk to the police, and legally I'm supposed to have someone present, but I haven't been able to get an advocate. And I've got proof that I've been trying to get one for years, but I mean, it's easier to punish me for my disabilities than it is to help me out. It's easier for people to assume the worst, and the way that they painted me on the media, I can't go back to Chapel, Nebraska, because when I go back there, I have people threatening my life. When I go back to Boulder, Colorado, I have people who are assaulting me. As far as social work goes, like, would they be trying to put me on, what do you call the M1 hold here again?
Like that Title V, I think.
Title V?
Call it something like that, but it's the emergency detention and all that kind of stuff. It's one of those things that, like, if this is definitely like a situation where, like, despairing would, it sounds like something that's horrible to go through, and I understand that. But if you actively trying to hurt yourself right now, and this is more, you're just looking for resources, we're definitely a place where we can get you resources. It's just.
The only time I was actively trying to hurt myself was when my friends and family had their lives threatened as well by police officers, and also when I was being assaulted by police officers in the Boulder County Jail or Appleton County Jail. I did attempt suicide 5 times last year, but I was trying to get help, and the help wasn't there. They were using things like this, the M1 hold in Colorado, to deny me the resources to defend myself. They kept on, the jurisdictional thing. I was supposed to have a disability advocate, but they shipped me out of jurisdiction from her. They keep separating me from my resources. And yeah, it is horrible. That's just 2 of the articles that are on there. I've got plenty of statements that I've been posting on YouTube from other witnesses. The problem is a lot of those witnesses, they didn't understand the situation and that they were making things worse. And when I was trying to talk to them, they were busy telling me pretty words like, you just have to love yourself. I've got people punching me in the face, threatening me to kill me, preventing me from seeing my loved ones. And obviously, for depression, it's important to have familiarity and stability. And also for autism, it's important to have familiarity and stability and routine. And I haven't been able to establish that. I recently got back into my dad's life, basically hoping that he would try to understand it, but he was very verbally abusive to me over it. So, I mean, that just made it all the more worse. Getting stranded somewhere makes it all the more worse. I do have money in my pocket so I can travel to places, but I have warrants in Nebraska for trying to go after the police there for not being willing to take a report. And I have warrants in Colorado. I also have 2 protection orders from the Bollinger family for court dates I wasn't allowed to go to. In the state of Colorado, if you have a court date that you can't go to, you have to have paperwork signed and in place 7 days before your court date. They handed me the protection orders 6 days before my court date. Also, they went out of their way to try to prevent me from being able to defend myself in those by separating it into 2 different protection orders that were on the same day at the same time. So they're in 2 different counties. So literally there's nothing that I could do. And these are people who are career criminals, like Ted Bollinger. This is Natalie's father. He is a 1%er. He's been selling drugs out of the back of his barber shop for years. I don't know if he still has it. I had people threatening my life because it's my fault that he lost his barber shop, is what they said. But I've had no help from the police. They've done everything that they could to put me on an M1 hold. I am suicidal, being as I want to die, but I'm not suicidal as in I'm actively trying to kill myself. So I'm not needing to be on a M1 hold. I'm needing help so that I don't have to continue to endure this hell, because if I have to continue to endure this, eventually I will kill myself. And no amount of M1 holds is going to stop that. People keep trying to shove drugs into me. Drugs don't help me to get the resources that I need to defend myself. They don't help me to clear my name so that I can see my loved ones. And they don't get me any sort of legal recourse. The things that happened to Natalie were terrible, but yes, Miss Peaches?
Good morning. I was able to speak out for another smoke, so I thought I'd give you a call. I didn't know if it was going to be too late or not.
It's not too late. I'm actually at the hospital. They're telling me that there's a social worker that they have that comes in at 7 a.m. There's some questions I wanted to ask you, though, while I got you on the phone. I can't remember what they were at the moment because I'm trying to actually get some assistance with my back while I'm here as well.
Want me to let you go?
No, ma'am, I don't. You're a familiar voice. As far as Mobley goes, that stuff with Christine, what's going on between him and her? Like, she really seems out of her mind. I don't know if she's depleted her neural pathways from all the drug use or what, but I mean, she really
That's
seems...
a possibility, and Mobley was saying that she just fell off her rocker, and that maybe it was a sudden and prolonged sobriety that did it. But instead of weaning herself, she just like quit cold turkey.
Right.
And he thinks that because her body was so dependent on it, that now that she doesn't have it, she's trying to find ways to cope, and she can't.
Right. Well, that's why a lot of people, when they get off of drugs, it's important, especially on meth, for them to keep their mind busy. So she might be having issues with that. I know that when I had Desiree at my place in Nebraska last year, she was having that issue. You have to keep them entertained, basically, while they come down.
How tall are you, Sean?
5'9".
How much do you weigh?
I have no idea. 140, I guess, maybe, at the most. So, I don't know. The whole thing with most of those folks that were trying to help me is they're either alcoholics or they're on heroin or they're on meth. That's a lot of the major issue I'm encountering.
Yeah.
So, as far as internal affairs goes, they're only able to compartmentalize to their county and to their jurisdiction. So even though the assault took place and the harassment from the Boulder police took place from the 1st of January to when I was released, they can only look at the parts in their county. So the phone call from the officer from Broomfield, they're not willing to look at. The stuff that continued to happen in the jail, that's out of their jurisdiction, so they're not willing to look at that. So they won't allow that into a court case because that's the sheriff's department. They won't allow that into the police case, and then the police department case, they won't allow into the sheriff's department case, and they won't allow any of the stuff that, you know, made that bias to begin with, being Natalie's case, in any of it.
Sean, we have a room for you back there if you want to get your back checked out.
All right. I'm going to let you go. They're going to take me back to a room and get my back checked out.
All right, be safe. I love you.
I love you too, Miss Peaches. I'll talk to you hopefully around 7 a.m.
All right, bye.
Bye.
I'm gonna call and give him a heads up, or do you want me to? Okay.
You want to get her checked out? Or you go.
I'll take him, yeah. All right.
Thank you,
Are
ma'am.
you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
I just peel from the top. Oh, you do? Yeah.
You know, it's funny.
What?
I quit drinking in 2001, but a lot of the homeless people that I helped out are alcoholics.
Yeah.
And every time I walk by one of them smelly alcohol dispensers, it makes me smile.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna go right in here.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Do you want the head of the bed up a little bit?
Sure.
Okay,
Actually, I probably should, because if not, it's kind of difficult for me to lean back up.
Okay, that's fine. And then we're gonna grab a quick set of vital signs on you. if that's
Yes, ma'am.
okay. All right. Yeah. So sweatshirts off, just so we can see an arm, your blood pressure.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Go ahead and have a seat on the bed for me.
Yes, ma'am.
Here's a wristband.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Want to do vitals? And then temperature under your tongue, please. Perfect.
98.1.
That's a good temperature.
Yes, ma'am. I take it my vitals are good.
Still working on it. Oh, sorry.
They'll be good.
Yeah, it just takes a second.
So, do I need to wait for a doctor to start explaining my back, or?
Yes, please.
Okay.
It's Dr. Lauber. He should be in shortly to see you, okay?
Yes,
And
ma'am.
then you can tell him what's going on with your back.
Yes, ma'am.
And then make a decision about whether you want to stay further to get help or not, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Call aid is right here if you need help. It's the red button. The TV remote's on there too if you need anything to get your mind off of things.
I hate taking you, but thank you.
Mm-hmm.